Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops, high above the chimney top is where you'll find me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to 7 Minutes in Heaven, shouting out the prophetic, one of the greatest musicians of all time, Israel Kamakawiwo'ole. I think I actually said his name correct. That is amazing because I didn't even have it written down. Today is actually his 61st birthday, which if you haven't heard that song, you've heard it, you just might not know that it's Israel Kamakawiwo'ole. See, I can't even do it now. We were blessed with it once, and that's all. Phenomenal musician. Phenomenal. One of my favorite songs is the acoustic version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, made famous by the Wizard of Oz, I think. And he has an acoustic version with a ukulele. Literally, he is the reason I bought a ukulele when I was younger. I strummed it for about a week and sold it on Craigslist. Just wasn't for me. You know, you got to get in where you fit in, and you can't try to do everything. Sometimes I feel like the guy that, like all the band player, he has every single instrument and he's like trying to do the harmonica and hit the drums. And then he's like, and he's literally doing every instrument. Sometimes that's what I feel like. And you got to start narrowing it down. If you become a jack of all trades, you become a master of none. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. But I love that song. That is literally, that song is always on repeat. Whenever I'm dealing with some stuff and I need to get away from shit, I'll usually put that song on. My all-time favorite song of all time, Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin. Not even a close second. I love that song. That's one of those songs where you puff a little bit of the devil's lettuce, you sit out on the patio, and you just look at the lamps, and you just feel the cold night, and she's buying, or I just fucked up the lyrics. Great. This is a great start. Building a stairway to heaven. Just the changes in that song. It's such a story. And I know that they ripped the melody from that song. I know that. I'm well aware. I've seen the mashups. And yes, Led Zeppelin, it seems like they did take that sample, at least. You know, they stole the progression. But before I get going in this podcast, because you know what? No, we're going to keep going on this before I give a plug. Led Zeppelin, that song, if you've had to have heard Stairway to Heaven, that is such a genius song. All the different, where that song goes, you can't do a song like that anymore. Like even a Bohemian Rhapsody, there's no way you're pulling that off with people's attention spans now. I've been trying to, because I started recording music again, get my pulse on what the kids are listening to. And it's not because I make music, you know, with the idea of what are people going to like. It's because I'm like, let me just see what's out there. I started noticing a trend that most songs are 2 minutes and 30 seconds. WTF? What? Why? Why are songs getting this, like I know why it's happening, but it shouldn't happen, you know? It's an interesting thing because as you get older, you start becoming the person being like, where is society going? Why are we heading down this road? But I'm becoming that person. I'm old, is what I'm saying. And I knew we were in trouble as a society when we had to have so many how to wash your hand tutorial videos at the beginning of this pandemic. I'm like, who are these being made for? Okay, is there some secret society of people that don't know how to wash their hands? Okay, just didn't make sense. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've gone enough with that little bit, but check out Stairway to Heaven. And here's another thing. After I started this podcast, I had it always in the back of my mind, 7 Minutes in Heaven, because it's just funny. 7 minutes in heaven, 7 minutes in heaven. Some people think it's sexual, and hey, it could be. The right person comes along. Hey. Yeah. What I was going to say is that I thought of this after, since it's my favorite song, Stairway to Heaven would have been a great podcast name. But I've talked about this before, Now I'm going to save that for my first comedy special, where will be Stairway to Heaven. Okay. Is it cheesy? Is it corny? But you know what? I don't give a shit. Okay, it's my comedy special. I can do whatever I want with my body, my jokes, and my life. Just like Bon Jovi. It's my life. Don't want to get taken down by YouTube for going with that. I sound just like them. Yeah, I'm excited. I'll get in this plug. I wanted to plug because I want to do something different this episode, at least for a little bit. I don't know how long it is, but we're just going to do it. I had the honor of being on the Leashless Brewing live stream last night. And what it is I'll get this plug out of the way. It's not even a plug. They're not asking me to do this. I just wanted to shout them out for letting me use their content. Leashless Brewing in Ventura, California, 585 East Thompson Boulevard, Ventura, California, 93001, the great United States of America. They have one of my favorite open mics, and they have what is called the listening room. And listen, when you're doing a stand-up comedian, you need to be on stage all the time. I'm trying to be 4 or 5 nights a week. I'm trying to be on stage. And what that means is that, if you're on a show Friday, Saturday night or something like that, and those hot nights, Thursday night, you need to be working out your material during the week, just like a gym. So what you do is you go to open mics just to work on the material and everything like that, because it's low pressure. You don't have to worry if something bombs and, you try out new material. So I look at it as like going to the gym. I'm like, okay, I need to log my hours. And one of the spots I would go, I'll crash music mics. And Leashless Brewing is a spot I first started going to. And at first, they were always nice. They were always nice. It's hard to gauge the room with music places, but they were always so welcoming and have always just like gone above and beyond to make me feel comfortable and make me feel part of the team. Because I'll be honest with you, a lot of times when you're a comedian, and on the other side, I also don't do, when I go to these certain rooms, I don't do dirty material in the sense of I won't, talk about ass eating and all these other things. But I don't really have that many ass eating jokes. I don't think I actually have one. But I know the room, I know the audience, and I'm going to be respectful of what they're allowing me to do. But if you come to a late show, just know what you signed up for. Hey. But Leashless Brewing is amazing. They're not only they have gluten reduced beer, I think they have some gluten-free beer, and a great atmosphere. If you're ever a poet, musician, comedian, no matter what you do, anything creative that could be done at an open mic, they allow you to do it there. And it used to be on Tuesday nights, but now they're doing a live stream during this pandemic where they're still having some of the people that would go to their open mic go on with the host of the podcast or the open mic, Robert Quindaro, which I think is Latin, Hispanic, Quindaro, Roberto Quindaro. For sure he needs to spice that name up. But you can find his music. He's a very talented musician. I binged all his music at robertquindaro.com. For sure you should buy robertoquindaro.com. But yeah, he hosts a great mic there, and they're always welcoming. And he invited me on last night to talk about just what I've been doing during this pandemic. And he was very complimentary of the stuff I produce. And it's kind of crazy because when you are the person doing it, you kind of just think you're not doing enough all the time, and you're always a step behind and not really impressed with yourself. And I think that's the way you got to be. You can't be thinking, man, I'm the shit. So it's refreshing, and it was a great conversation. And I asked them if I could stuff it into this podcast so you guys could hear that interview and hear me actually talk to someone. So I'll plug that in now. And before I do, I want to just let anybody know, in Ventura, California, if you go to leashlessbrewing.com, you can get their 32-ounce crowlers and merchandise to go, pick up, limited delivery, and shipping options in checkout. They have a bunch of great stuff. They always are. They brew so many unique beers, and the owners are very talented. One's a very talented poet who writes haikus, and the other is the brew master, if you will, and he's always brewing something. but they're nothing but great people, and I always love promoting great people and special people, and I think they're salt of the earth. So, ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, here was a conversation with me and Rob from last night, and then I'll be back after.
Someone who I explained as a comedian, but I don't really know if that really makes sense for what we're about to talk about. But what's up, Evan?
What's up, man? It's good to be here.
I said you were a comedian because that's how people know you when you come to open mic. But I don't know how you actually describe yourself to people.
Just the voice of a generation. I'd rather go with that, humble title.
Of course.
Yeah, I think comedian, musician from time to time, creative person. That's what I like to think.
Yeah, I think that's
videographer.
The creative person was really that's the one I was trying to invite on here. Not the voice of a generation one.
But, you don't want the Kanye West version of me? All right.
We get that at real open mic.
Yeah.
So basically, if people recognize you, you are Evan from open mic. You're the comedian that's come back the most times, and the one that makes people laugh the most. I
hold the title.
And we've had some comedians, and it goes well sometimes, and it's a tough place to. Two people in a row go up there and sing like a Neil Young song and like a Bob Dylan song, and someone goes up and reads like kind of like a sensitive poem, and then Evan comes up and does comedy. So
sometimes I'm like, how am I about to follow this flute right now? I don't even know what I'm going to do. There's someone blowing in a rock, which sounds beautiful, but I'm going to come up and be like, hey guys, I'm half Puerto Rican. Hey,
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, but you keep doing it, which I'm always open for it. So instead of having Evan come on here and do stand-up comedy on a live stream,
that'd be terrible.
It didn't seem like that would work very well.
I've been asked, because a lot of comedians, they are doing live stream comedy shows, and they'll ask me to do their show, and I just don't respond because I'm like, it's going to go so bad.
I just like with the song, it's already the only reason that I come on in between people playing a song when they're doing two is because I've done a live stream where there's no one else there, and you can see people commenting or liking and everything, but you get done and you're like, okay, yeah. Like no applause, no anything.
Yeah.
And I think with comedy, it'd be like your songs, like your little things. You're expecting a laugh every 15 seconds.
I would have to have my own laugh track, and I would just be like, ha!
Which would honestly probably seem funnier to people because they would be like, oh, what is this? Like ABC, like on Friday night.
Yeah.
So
I'm treating this like Johnny Carson, by the way. I even brought a coffee cup with water in it, and I'm like, that's great. Back to you, Rob.
I have my coffee cup too.
Oh, phenomenal plug, by the way. I got to say, though, because as a traveling comedian, I go to tons of open mics. I've been to every kind of open mic there is. Leashless is by far the best non-comedy mic I've been to. The vibe, like when you were talking earlier about just the vibe they're trying to create and like super open and be good to the earth and all of that. It's so true because whenever I go there, people are like, hey, Evan. And I'm like, oh, wow, you guys actually remember me and like want to talk after and everything. So it's a great vibe, man. And you're a contributor to that.
I appreciate it. It's like Cheers, but without kind of sexual undertones because it's not the 80s.
I try to bring sexual undertones when I'm in there with some,
people have brought it worse. People go up there and say something. It's like, wow, yeah, you can't say that. Did you not just hear like everybody else that performed about their like dying grandma? Why are you coming up here with your sexual stuff?
I usually leave my dying grandma jokes at home when I come to Leashless.
Yeah, and I've seen some of your other, like I was watching. So first of all, everybody should go to Evan's YouTube page.
Just don't go back past like 2017. It starts getting weird after that.
Yeah, there's so much stuff on there. There's like music. There's like you have all your podcasts. You have a podcast called 7 Minutes in Evan. Yeah. Which is not a sexual undertone.
No.
But, I think all those episodes are on there. Those are funny. I've been listening to those. Then you have these other little, like you have little skit kind of things. It's all super well produced. And then there was even a sheep shearing clip.
Yeah. That's what I want to start doing more is like those kind of videos. Because I'm just always curious about so much different stuff. And I had a buddy who's a sheep shearer. And I was like, dude, can I come along with you to one of your jobs and just film it and learn all about it? And like that became like one of his best videos for his business because people got to see into his world and see who he was when we weren't even trying to do that. But it was just such a fun time to film something like that.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen kind of similar. It's like it's just like an interview, but you're approaching it like funny, like you were talking and he was just like laughing. It
Yeah.
wasn't like, how do you shear a sheep? It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's like
I don't try to be too educational. I just try to be entertaining.
it's just basically overall, and I feel like I've seen some of the stuff that you've posted on there, and I was kind of scrolling through, and I was like, wow, there's a variety of stuff.
Yeah,
and you're clearly very good at producing.
Thanks,
on
man.
all mediums. Like I thought, I feel like I'm somewhat educated compared to like the average human. Like I have okay equipment and everything, but everything you did, like it looks good, it sounds good. There's no clicks and pops and scratchiness. Man. Like it was really well done. Which I thought that was kind of the most impressive, like from a nerdy standpoint.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. Honestly, it's because I've always had the philosophy. I grew up homeschooled, and for some reason, and I wasn't homeschooled where I had super strict parents. I like grew up like Tarzan, where I was just like left to my own devices all the time. So I'm naturally super independent when it comes to figuring stuff out. And I figured when it comes to like being creative and doing stuff, and like even for musicians, if you can cut out as many people as you can out of the creative process, it's going to come across so much more unique and true to who you are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it feels like that's why I was like, oh, I can't just call you a comedian because there's so much. You're not just being funny without any other talent. Like you clearly know what you're doing. Like if you weren't funny, you could still do all those things. And just without being funny, that's what I do. I just kind of get on here and not funny and sing songs. You know, it's like it just comes across very nice and professional, which I think is really cool. So
it's like a scoreboard. It's like everything. There's like 20% of the efficiency, and it's like 20% of being productive with it, and then like 10% of funny. And as long as like the other areas I'm good in, I'm like, then I don't really have to be funny. Then I only have to be 5% funny.
Yeah. That's what I had some friends who were doing a podcast, and they were like, if we make the intro music 30 seconds long and the outro music 30 seconds long, we don't have to talk for as long. Like, there you go. That's smart. You know, if you're doing a 30-minute podcast, there's only 29 minutes.
That's it, man.
So the last thing I had to ask was basically during.
This is already over. I thought we're not doing like 2 hours right now.
we can do our own.
Okay,
we'll get permission from John. Yeah, so you could just be the Ventura late night host.
Smooth hits with that.
It'd be better than a lot of content on Facebook. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So the thing I was going to ask was basically that was a little overview of what you did all the time during this kind of lockdown. I feel like you've been overactive, including an Adele parody.
Oh, that's
which was actually really funny.
Thanks, man.
Which is the equivalent of someone saying, "Did you actually write that song?" It's like, "Oh, that was actually really funny."
Thanks, man.
But it was. I thought I saw that on. I think you posted on Instagram or something, and so I showed a bunch of people, and I was like, "Wow!" Like I didn't even know you did anything like that. And then that's when I kind of went backwards and was like, "Wow, look at all this different stuff." It was like a gold mine. So like, what was it?
That almost went viral. Not coronavirus. We were right on the verge. It was like a cold. You know.
When you have an idea for something like that, does it always go through all the way, or is it like when you have a joke, like 8 out of 10 don't actually make it? Do you start a lot of little projects like that and then that don't actually make it?
Yeah, I try to. This could be like an hour-long podcast on this question about like resistance and productivity being like a creative person. But like when I have an idea, if it is so good that I'm like, oh, like I do this and I'm like, oh, I got to do it. Like I can usually get it to the end. And then a lot of times to not let like resistance or the little voice in my head talk me out of finishing it, I won't even think about that anybody's going to see it or hear it, and just get it to the end of the first draft. And then it's different with stand-up, because with stand-up, I can take something that I think might be funny and do the draft on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And if no one laughs, then well, okay, we don't do that bit again. But if we get to laugh, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep working on it. But yeah, it usually just starts out with an idea. And a lot of times, like I always just tell people, because whether it's a musician, comedian, anybody who wants to do video production, they're always like, well, how do I do it? I'm like, you just have to do it. And you have to be willing to do tons of really bad ones, because there's going to be a ton of bad ones with songs, with jokes, but you have to make all those bad ones to get to the good ones. And you're never going to know until you won't even know it's bad when you're doing it, though. It's going to take years later to make you cringe. So I just think, just do it,
That, which is a good point, because the thing about YouTube is in 10 years, when there's another viral outbreak, you'll be like me last week, sitting on the couch watching all of the 4 people I'm quarantining with, all of our old videos on YouTube from like senior year of high school, like cooking class. When I was in high school, I made dunk videos where me and my cousin dunked on the little basketball goal in my living room, with Rise Against playing in the background. We did 17 of those.
Really?
Yeah, they're on YouTube. Some are banned because we use copyrighted songs, but it's
I'm gonna go look for those.
you should. They're still there, and we watched them, and it was like an entertaining hour of my life that I remember.
Awesome.
We spent like hours on those videos, and they're so bad because it was 2007 and cameras weren't cool. Like my camera on my computer right now is better than the ones I was using there. So
it's insane.
it really is crazy. So basically, this is hopefully what everybody gets out of this little talk is Evan is a funny guy, and go look at his stuff he's actually posting online. I guess I should flash this thing. I told you to give it to me.
I'm sorry. I did terrible. Okay. I am Evan Lopez.
That's good. That's go look him up if you're on the social scene. It's definitely really funny and it's worth checking out.
Thanks.
People are going to be searching around for stupid stuff on Facebook anyway. At least they can get that YouTube down and go laugh for a couple hours.
I'm reading Marley write in stuff on the side this whole time, and it's just Marley's the most supportive person.
She is
in my life in Ventura.
We'll put it up there.
Yeah, she's awesome. Marley was for the longest time I wouldn't go to Leashless without Marley because I was like, Marley is my pass in. Because like a couple times I went, no one would say hi to me, and then I was like, oh, but when I go with Marley, everybody treats me good, and they're like, he's with Marley, he must be okay.
People do love Marley. I too love Marley. She was I'm glad she used to actually be kind of scared to come to open mics too. And then we kind of bonded as like a kind of, shy songwriter folk. And that tends to be a lot of the people at open mic. It's kind of the outlet they have. So
yeah,
it's
can I tell you one funny Marley story?
You can tell as long as
I've never even said this live, but so Marley is the sweetest, supportive, like most supportive person. We were doing a Christmas show with Doc Holliday, and I had a brother pass away. This isn't the funny part of the joke, but Marley starts talking to me about it right before we're about to perform. And I'm about to go on stage and have to tell jokes. And Marley just goes, hey, just so you know, wherever your brother is, I know he would be so proud of you. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Marley, just going to make me cry right before I go on stage right now.
And she meant it.
Yeah. I bring it up every 3 months to her.
She really is like just so incredibly kind. She's one of my favorite people to actually play new songs to at open mic and stuff. Because I feel like she's like, yes, like it's like the comment is exactly what you want. It's not like that was good. It's like I loved this part. It's like that's exactly what I'm looking for.
She's so passionate about it.
I know, it's so great, and she's been producing her own stuff too, which I think you've been kind of giving her a little bit of advice on, I presume. So look out for Marley's stuff. We'll probably get Marley back on here. I think she was on this when it wasn't on YouTube yet. So she's due the updated version. So
heck yeah. Welcome back, Marley.
Evan, thanks for being on here, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Everybody go check out Evan's, just all of his content, because
thank you, everyone.
He's a comedian.
Yeah, funny guy.
Awesome. Hope to see you soon, man.
All right, guys. Cheers. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. That felt very like Johnny Carson's studio. I threw it to commercial, and now we're back. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And shout out to Marley Lovelace. She's a very talented local musician. I always introduce her to people because she cross-pollinates with the comedy scene and supports everybody. She's just a very supportive person. As she put it last night, she's aggressively supportive. She will slap you with support. But you can check out some of her music on social media. I want to have her on eventually. I would like to start having musicians on. I would love to do it in studio though, because things just get weird when you start streaming things quality wise and even conversation. Like it's hard to, Robert was actually very good at like us not interrupting each other and taking like conversational cues. A lot of times you get in a conversation on stream and it's constantly over talking to the person and trying to, I don't know what the fuck that sound was. Fucking Alexa. But yeah, I thought it was great. And I want to start having musicians in studio as soon as we can start doing that and do like live performances with them in here. I think that would be dope to start the podcast with a song, talk to them, and maybe end it with a song. That'd be great. But yeah, overall, it was great. Yeah, my YouTube page is a cringy deep dive if you go into it. There's just so much different stuff. And I think that's good because you kind of just like, you got to go through all that weird stuff just to find what you need to do. And one thing I didn't mention on the podcast or the interview last night that I wanted to was the war of art, because I knew a lot of musicians were watching the stream. The War of Art is an amazing book about resistance as an artist or a creative person. I don't like using the term like, yeah, you have to use artist to like describe it, what it is, but like, I just think it's so pretentious and all thespian like. But I think just being creative, that if you read The War of Art, it takes all the magic, not magic, that's a bad word to use because it's not, but it makes it more objective output with creativity. And you kind of battle the resistance that stops you from doing some of the things you need to do. But yeah, I thought it was a great conversation. I want to get Robert on here to play some of his music and get to know more about him and interview him, because him and I were talking before the stream, and I really liked what we were talking about. We were talking about just recording processes and everything like that. And, you know, because I come from music and he does music, he recorded an entire album in his living room, which I think is phenomenal. In a day, which is insane that he just had that ready and was able to pull it off. That's like the difference between a really talented musician who performs live versus someone who's started in their bedroom and hasn't performed live, because you can see it when you start recording music artists. The ones that I've worked with, the ones that constantly can't, they keep messing up and they need to keep going back, which isn't a bad thing. You know, it's just part of it. But something I've noticed is that the ones who perform live a lot, they've mastered the art of being able to get through a song, be able to do the vocals and everything like that. Really good. And it's great to see. And you just, when you're working with them, you're like, this is a goddamn professional. And they've dealt with the stage fright. They can get in their zone a little bit better. So shout out to all you cool cats and kittens out there rocking it in the free world. Oh yeah, and if you want to see the Leashless Brewing YouTube channel, you just go to YouTube, go to Leashless Brewing, and I think every Tuesday night they do a live show where poets, musicians, and comedians will perform. Not really comedians. He had me on there, and we didn't do a comedy routine. He knew. I'm glad that he was aware enough to like not ask me to do stand-up, because I don't know. The whole streaming of stand-up thing, it doesn't work for me. I'm much more intrigued in just conversations with comedians. So like if comedians want to reach out and do a podcast, I'm good with that. But like if you want me to do your live stream comedy show, I just don't want to do it. I'm sorry. It's no offense to you. It's just I don't want to do live stream comedy shows. It's just not the right environment for comedy. Trying to put a square in a circle. Let's see. Oh yeah, huge news. And this means a lot for the world. Joe Rogan is going to Spotify. And I put out a joke that, you know, because I went on iTunes, and it's funny because we both have a comedy podcast. Him and I's podcasts were right next to each other in the comedy podcast one. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? This is never going to happen again. So I screenshot it and I posted, you know, congratulations to Joe Rogan on a Spotify deal. It's going to be nice not having to compete with you for the most listeners on Apple. And it's funny because I think a lot of people thought I was being honest. Some people were congratulating me as if I really am even in the same realm as Joe Rogan. The only way I'm in the same realm as Joe Rogan is that we're both human. Okay? That's about it right now. Yeah, you heard me say right now. I'm coming for you, Joe. I'm coming for you. But really, like, and that's the thing is like, it's amazing to see. And obviously, I'm joking when I say I'm coming for Joe. Giggity. I always never liked that. This is kind of a rabbit hole. I never liked it when fighters from a previous generation or different generations talked about how they're going to be better. I'm going to catch them. Like, part of the reason why people are able to be better at a certain age and do things is because of those who came before them and kind of set the blueprint. I think Joe Rogan is, he literally, they call him the podfather of comedy, of podcasting, because he kind of created this huge thing, and it's inspiring as fuck. To see where he started and where he is now. Obviously, when he started his podcast, it was, he already was the host of Fear Factor, was a comedian, he had money. but they just started him and Brian Redband with a live stream. I think it was like on Justin TV, and they had fucking snow flurries falling, and people just asked Joe questions, and he just talked about it. And it was zero quality. Literally, my first podcast was so much more high quality than Joe Rogan's first podcast. And that's partly because Joe Rogan laid the platform and he laid the foundation so other people could do it. And that's what I've always thought was so dope about Joe Rogan, is that I have never heard Joe Rogan once say, by the way, you got to take a shot every time I say Joe Rogan in this podcast. I'm going to be literally, you ever seen a bull rider? That's what I'm going to be on his nuts right now, just hanging on him. He doesn't want me on him. I'm just hanging on. Yeehaw. We're going the full 7 seconds or whatever you bull riders try to do. But I've never heard Joe Rogan once say that he was the best, that he was the man, have any sort of ego attached to his podcast and just what he does. And that's been the most refreshing thing, to see someone in such a high position that doesn't try to either stroke his own ego or use his power for the wrong things. Because a lot of time, man, I've had people with control issues in my life, and it's gross. I think when you're in a position where you do have power over someone and you use it in a bad way, you abuse that power, and you're good at what you do, and you need to tell people that you use it to like put your balls on the table. I hate that. It's so gross to me. And I've dealt with that in comedy, if I'm being honest. Is like, there were times where, I've always looked at comedy as, even with my little experience that I have in the big scheme compared to someone who's been doing it for 25, 30 years, I've always tried to help people just getting started. If they look to me and they're like, oh man, how do you write your jokes and blah, 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 I will tell them anything I can and help in any way. I'm probably hurting them, but I try to give back as much as I can because it feels good for me, to be honest with you. But it's also, I think, part of it, because I think you attach yourself to a bigger part of the world. And when you look at it like that it's not just you winning. Like, if I was worried about me being the best at everything and I didn't want anybody else to win because it would mean I lost, then I would never network. I would never work with people. I'd be a shitty human being. And I would never, like, that's the thing, is like that fulfillment you should get from helping others and just looking at what you're doing as not a form of you, but a form of like us. Like, you help the people around you and everybody wins. And guess what? If you help the next generation that's coming up and are going to, they're going to do huge things and build upon what you've built or tried to push forward, then you're a part of that too. You're a part of the actual holistic art form, if you will. God, that was so artsy. But Joe Rogan has been that with his podcast for other comedians, the platforms that he's built. He's built so many podcast babies. From Your Mom's House with Tom Segura, Ari Shaffir, sadly. No, I'm just kidding. Bert Kreischer, Theo Vaughn. He's literally told everybody, build a podcast. And he's just been so selfless with it. So it's amazing. And he's also one of these dudes that like, sorry, I'm just getting emotional when I talk about Joe Rogan. Now I got this Corona stuck in my throat. I love seeing people who are selfless and don't need to tell you that they're the best at something, that they're, blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. I think when they just show it, they just put in work and they're just constantly doing work, son. Doing work. Shout out to Big. But yeah, it's dope to see. And I think it's a huge step. Dude, honestly, what a big thing that I've been noticing this past year, and I hate talking about this because it sounds weird, a victim of social media restrictions. My account on Instagram, like, they're literally, it's all public knowledge. Isn't it weird that we live in a time, this is like Edward Snowden posted this, where it's more taboo and weird to think that the government does spy on you than that they actually do. Like, it's more weird if someone doesn't believe that than if someone does believe that the government spies on you. We all know they do. but also something that's come to light, and it's like common knowledge. Social media platforms are censoring freedom of speech, and they're censoring anything that doesn't go with what they believe is right for the culture or whatever it is. Like when you have YouTube, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, they're not really following just a basic guideline of what should be considered freedom, and they're censoring a lot of stuff. There's obviously, when I say basic guideline, nudity, obvious hate speech, where you got people using racial slurs and stuff like that. I understand if you want to censor that. But when you start censoring political opinions just because they're different of yours, or if you start censoring social opinions just because it doesn't work with the current or the previous state of cancel culture, which I hope is going away. Also, side note, I just got to say about this. I run online stores where I sell a lot of merchandise, hoodies, t-shirts, everything you can think of. I sell a lot of shit. This pandemic hasn't changed the way people treat customer service, because my stores were under a lot of a demand for certain items right now. And when I have a delay in shipment or something just because of the pandemic, I get people writing me the dumbest shit and just the most entitled shit. I'm like, oh, I see. This hasn't changed the way a lot of people are. And yeah, I would say 85% is all positive. 15%, that's a big number of people who are just so fucking entitled and be like, where is my stuff? This was supposed to be here. I'm opening a case and a lawsuit against you. And I'm like, hey, bitch, relax. I'm not Walmart. I'm going to tag you back. But I think, getting back on topic, if I can remember it, when you have this kind of situation where you have all these platforms starting to censor stuff, and Joe Rogan has voiced his opinion on this, that YouTube, before I forget, when I was saying I got censored, basically I started making fun of vegans. I started making fun of, I forgot who else got grouped into that. It wasn't even that bad of stuff, but I got reported for bullying. And ever since then, all my numbers are down. Only, I think, according to Instagram stats now, only 1% of my audience actually sees my stuff. So, there's some people who say they go search for me on Instagram. They can't even find me when they search for me. So, and I don't know how long that will last. I don't really give a shit, whatever. If I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'm eventually going to break through the mold. I don't know why I said mold. That doesn't make sense. But anyway, so I don't really care. You can, whatever. I'll eventually, you're not going to be able to do this to me. But let my people go. #Moses. Joe Rogan has done this too, where he's talked about YouTube, how they hide a bunch of his stuff and they were demonetizing his podcast and all this stuff. And he's just had so many issues. And then you get, Facebook. They only post, they'll hide right-wing stuff because they're a left-wing platform. And I don't really give a shit about politics. Instagram will hide stuff, and YouTube is starting to hide stuff, and stuff that they think they're taking down a lot of videos that just don't match up with the consensus of what is right to post. And that's a slippery slope, I think, when it comes to what these platforms are supposed to be. So I think this is a huge kick in the nuts to YouTube. The fact that a titan like this, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Joe Rogan is bigger than every single news station combined. He is destroying the news stations. Insane traffic. I only need a droplet of that, Joe. Okay, I only need a droplet of that. And it's beautiful to see, because it's one of the things, and I'm sure Joe Rogan's influenced me in a lot of ways. I believe he's shaped the minds of so many men in good ways, and introduced me to so many different men that I look up to and model my life after. You got David Goggins, you have Jocko Willink, you have Jordan Peterson. He's voiced Cameron Haynes. He's created a platform for so many other inspirational people that I think young people in America need to listen to and get inspiration from. So I think this is huge in the direction of freedom of speech and the ability to create your own world and not have people try to control you. That's been a huge reason why I never wanted a regular job, and I wanted to build something where I could be in complete control of it, and I don't have to worry about people telling me to do certain things, what to say, what not to say. So it's just, I think it's great. I think it's great that Joe Rogan did that. So shout out, Joe. We're going to miss you. Hopefully I get some, can ride your coattails and get some of those YouTube views that you're going to be leaving on the table now. So cheers, mate. We'll end on this topic. I know this is going to be a long podcast because I stuffed the other one in here. Yeah, we're going. Yeah, won't be that much longer. I saw this, a buddy sent this to me, that on Grubhub, there's now a thing called Pasquelli's Pizza. It's this huge thing. I haven't looked into it too much, but Pasquelli's Pizza on Grubhub is Chuck E. Cheese. They've created this huge front that they're this different gourmet pizza restaurant. It's fucking Chuck E. Cheese. And they're delivering food on Grubhub right now, which shout out to you guys for the ingenuity. But your Chuck E. Cheese, just own the brand. Like, what's so bad about Chuck E. Cheese pizza? I don't ever remember it being bad. Do you? Answer yes or no. What if you could do that? You can interact with this podcast. And when you click something or you say something, it takes me into a different, I would have to record like 70 different podcasts with different answers. If you say no, I'll be like, okay, well, go fuck yourself. We're getting back to the story. But if you say yeah, I'd be like, right? Anyway, Chuck E. Cheese. I remember in high school, I went to Chuck E. Cheese when I was a senior. This is weird, right? Anyway, Chris Hansen's going to be knocking on my door any second. I went to Chuck E. Cheese. We were driving. I was a senior. I was 18. And I was with these girls who were in high school, 16 or 17. Come on, guys. I was still a senior. Just friends. But it was one of those spur of the moment things. You know how like in music videos, they always have like high school kids doing dumb shit out of nowhere, having a fucking dance battle in Target. You know what I'm talking about. They were like, let's go to Chuck E. Cheese, which should have been a red flag for me. But tried going in there. Did you know that Chuck E. Cheese has a rule that you can't go in if you're over 18 unless you're with someone who's under 18? I mean, it makes sense. And vice versa. You can't be under 18 unless you have someone over 18. So we were able to get in, and I remember we walked around, and it was weirdly nostalgic for me. We didn't order any food. We literally just, I think, spent like $10 on tokens and then got the fuck out of there. But that back room where the parties happen, you know, when they have those long tables, and then you got the creepy ass band that's just waiting to play. Dude, there is nothing creepier than that band at Chuck E. Cheese. They look like they lived in a sewer, and they're just enslaved to have to go perform for these little brats during their birthday party. And they look so scared the whole time. Like, they should replace that with just a TV screen and do like a 3D thing. There you go. Pascal's Pizza, okay? Just some of that money you make on Pascal's Pizza, just fund a little 3D green screen. I don't know. But give them some life. This was the craziest thing. You're going to have to watch the video for this part. But when they're just like there, happy birthday to you. And Chucky's just looking around the fucking room like a little rat. Like he looks literally like a rat who just sold out the mafia. And he's just like, ha. And he's like playing with the band in the mafia. And he's like, gotta wait because he knows the FBI. They all look like they're pedophiles. And the FBI is about to burst through the door. And they're just trying to like, oh man, we just got to get through this. Like they know something's about to happen. They know there's like an informant in there. So that's a new theory about it. And who the fuck names it Pasquelli's? Is there something like that? Like you go into Da Vinci Code and you find out that's like Latin for Chucky? I don't know. There's not much there. But I just thought that was weird. And apparently it's a big thing. People are looking into it and they're just like, they're treating it like it's 9/11. They're like Tower 7. The large cheese pizza is just the Chucky slice. Yeah, and there was a thing, there's so much weird stuff. You start Googling Chuck E. Cheese, you go down a rabbit hole. You go down a mouse hole, little rat hole. Is Chuck E. Cheese a mouse or a rat? I'm going to go with a rat. Way too big to be a mouse. Way too aggressive features to be a mouse. Okay? But then again, it doesn't make sense to make your your mascot a rat? These are the kind of questions that keep me up at night, ladies and gentlemen. I just want you to know that. As you can see from the background right now, if you're watching the video, every week the setup is changing. I'm trying to find the best way to do this. And the one that I like the most. So far, this isn't bad. This isn't a bad one. The other setup, it was too bright. There was too much going on. I had to change it around. But I kind of like this, being able to see Ali and these two pictures. We're just going to keep messing with it. Every week we'll change it up. I'm going to start updating my website more, having it more interactive, and start reaching out to more people on social media, see if they want to do podcasts right now. So if you're interested, if you're a listener and you're a comedian, feel free to reach out. If I don't respond, no offense, but we're just not booking right now. But if I do respond, thank you, and we'll figure something out. But I will see you guys. Oh yeah, that was another thing. It's easy to lose sight of a goal, and it's easy to lose motivation with something when you're not seeing that many results. Listen, I am blessed, #blessed, to still be having consistent numbers through this pandemic. But sometimes after a while, you're just like, man, it feels like we're just not getting anywhere with this. But seeing like this Joe Rogan deal and everything like that, it inspires me and it just motivates me. And ladies and gentlemen, we might be moving this podcast to 3 days a week during this pandemic. Is it going to last forever? I don't know. But you know what? We got to do something. We got to up the numbers, And just remember, at the end of the day, I love you and I miss you.